Hi guys, it's me, Sloan, and today we're going to talk about how I pulled a stupid or a series of stupids, and unlike most people, I have made it my life's mission. Excuse me. I have made it my life's mission to own my actions, both good or bad. And I don't understand people who don't do this, which is why it has confused me when there is a certain community who has rippled through, certain rumors have rippled through about how I don't own my behaviors. I do. I do. Uh, this has only taken me time because I have had a million doctor's appointments between then and now, and I have been sick, and I have not had the time to sit in front of a camera and do this thing. I've also had quite a few phone calls with people who were there and to verify certain things because I was a bit inebriated. Uh, Not an excuse, um, was highly emotional, drank a liter of Southern Comfort and had a Xanax, and was a train wreck, kind of. I allowed certain things to happen, certain things to nag at me, in which I allowed myself to respond in ways that allowed the event to become more in moments about me than it was about my dad, and it should have been all about my dad. And so, my bad. That's on me. That being said, okay, I want to go over the series of events in the order, well, in a reverse order, because of how I confirmed all of these events. And so this is how we're going to go through them. Firstly, the day after, I was awakened by phone calls and was reminded that I had posted an unfortunate and ill advised status while angry and drunk. I removed said status, responded to the person who responded to said status. Now, I responded after speaking to someone who told me uh, I had disrespected, let's call her Sally. I had disrespected, hold on. Okay. Apparently, I had disrespected Sally by hugging her husband too affectionately. And she thought I was being untoward, and I wasn't. I've known her husband since he was 19 years old, before he could grow a wisp on his chin, and now he had a full grown beard, and it weirded me out. And so I mentioned that to him, and then we had a conversation before I realized that she was standing there. I was drunk, and again, my bad. No disrespect was intended towards the woman. I was simply not in the right mind frame to realize that I had overstepped. And so there was that, and I responded in kind to that, and that there was that. So that happened. I understand that. I accept that. That is my responsibility. Uh, when I left uh, in a rageful state. I It was very visible when I left that I was angry. And my sister, my big sister, went chasing after me and brought me back to sit me down and make me wait for an Uber instead of walking off to find somewhere to get an Uber on my own, which I was going to do. I wasn't going to walk home. It was ridiculous to think that at that hour that I would walk home, but I complied, and therefore there is that. So it does. I did storm off. I was returned. I did go home in an Uber. That is a fact. Um, Prior to that, I was called into a summit with, again, we'll call her Sally. Uh, is it the same Sally? It's one of the Salty Sallys. I don't think. Oh, it is the same Sally. Um, Confrontation about the my being too affectionate with my brother, and I do remember being in the room. I don't remember the actual conversation. I do remember the tone of the conversation being very antagonistic. And I do remember thinking, oh my God, if she's just going to throw barbs at me and expect me to apologize to her, then I'm just going to say whatever and smoke a cigarette or something. And so I remember thinking, well, I'll just apologize, shake and blow, move on, and we'll do that or whatever. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was told I said, well, fuck it then, whatever. Those were the words I was told. And I was very dismissive. And then my Uncle Rumple, I'm calling him Rumple because he talks like Uncle Stiltskin, came storming in and shouted for me to leave, hence my leaving in a fit of rage. Yeah. But I left so as not to lash out because I didn't want the day to be about me. And because at that point it became visibly about me, that's on me, if that makes sense. Because I allowed the drama to happen rather than to ignore it and just kind of brush it aside and move on, if that makes sense. That was my bad. I shouldn't have allowed her to irk me to begin with. That should just not have happened. Let's move back from that. I was pulled in for a chat with Uncle Rumple, who, like Stiltskin, talks in circles while chiding me in an attempt to make you sell your soul while at the very least your dignity, and it didn't go incredibly well. I didn't take too. I really don't take kindly to being spoken to like an errant child or soon to be ex-wife. See, the problem with speaking to certain people is that when they walk into a conversation already antagonistic, I'm a very reciprocal person. So when you walk in antagonistic, my antagonistic side is like, oh, I can meet you. And I try to pull it, but again, I'm a reciprocal person. I can't, and I tried very hard, again, while drunk and on a Xanax, to control my tongue while being accused of the most ridiculous things and being chided for things that haven't happened in over 20 years, and things that I'm being unnecessarily blamed for years after the fact that they even happened, things that had nothing to do with me. I don't even want to justify the things that I was being chided for. Doesn't matter. I spent quite some time being chided and berated as if I were a child, and my mouth then, as I was taught, I am not to sit there and just take it and eat shit with a smile. I lashed out. I lashed back, and I told him I wasn't going to take anymore. On the day of, I drank a liter of Southern Comfort. Stupid. Number one. It was the fifth anniversary event for my dad's death. I likely should not have left my house. Stupid. Number two. I showed up with my big brother and sister. Big sis was a little bit sauce, and she introduced me around a little bit. And only the one time, referred to me as his blood daughter, and I, on the side, corrected her and let her know that I've always been open about him adopting me in my teens. It's actually a thing. I put it in my book and everything. I try not to go down that route because there's a lot of people who will sit there and try to claim blood relation to the man so that they can have more clout. I've never been that person, and I try not to be that person, so I didn't want to be that person at the event. But just that conversation in itself was heard and seen and made a stink. One of the Sallys. Okay. Afterwards, while I was there, having a conversation with someone else, there was a Sally standing nearby. There was a Sally standing nearby, and she was muttering little barbs at me. Uh, she made sure that she was like right within earshot, but she wasn't part of the conversation that was actually happening. So like every once in a while, when there was a lull in the conversation, and we were just like, oh, she would say something like, "He isn't your father. You're a wife, not a sister. You're a mother of a child of a brother." And she also made sure to mention that she didn't specifically care about the drama with Sue. Let's call her Sue. Uh, Facebook Thugs, my book, or Legacy, all of which I thought was odd since literally no one was speaking to her. Like literally nobody, nobody. She was just standing off to the side. It was just really weird and creepy. Um, and it went on for a while, and then she went away. Uh, at this point, I did. I knew I was going to lose my temper. I just with Sally, so I didn't want because she wasn't the first one to mention Sue. So I wasn't going to answer for some perceived wrong. So I asked my sis for a Xanax, which was a big stupid. It was stupid number three. Three. Yeah, we're going to go with three right now. On our way back to the car, we ran into a small cluster of folks, okay, that I hadn't seen in some time, some that I didn't know and some that I did. I walked over to greet my aunt, Felly. Let's call her Felly. I've known her for over 20 years, and as I approached her, well, we're not terribly close, but we know each other enough to be like, oh, hey, what's up? At all of the parties, whatever. I've known her for over 20 years. So I approached her and she said, I don't know you. No shit. It threw me off. It was completely insane. So I looked at her because she was a bit sauced as well. She was just like staring dead off, like, and I'm like, oh, you do know me. I know you. You know me. I'm Pepsi. I'm Eddie Star. I'm Warlock's wife. This is our daughter. I don't know you. And she seemed angry, like she was wanting to fight. And I was like, okay then. All right. Well, I'll see you later. And I walked away. Now, that conversation was also misconstrued later as in I was walking up to her saying, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? And I kind of did, but not really, only because, like, for 20 years we've known each other, and, like, randomly out of nowhere she didn't know me. It was just weird. But also blonde now, and I've never been blonde before, so maybe that threw her out. I don't know. Whatever. It's just weird and random. That's when I ran into my little brother and his wife, although I didn't realize his wife was there. I genuinely didn't. I guess at this point the Xanax was kind of kicking in. And I was already halfway to drunk, and I just saw him and I hugged him, and it was just like, oh my God. And he had read my book. I didn't know, and he explained to me how, like, he was so proud of me or whatever, and I was just like, God, I'm so happy, thank you. And then we started catching up on some old times, and then I realized that his woman was kind of like here and not pushing me away, but like kind of edging me away, or edging herself into the conversation, I guess. And I apologized because I didn't realize, she was standing there, even much less that she was with him or whatever. And I guess that irked her or rubbed her the wrong way. That conversation also came back to someone that I was bragging about my book a lot, I guess. Which is fine, whatever. I care, but I don't really care. Okay. Then I went to sit by my brother's bike, the one I came with, and we chatted around for a bit. And the salty Sally that was sniping at me before came back and started sniping at me again. And I had a short conversation with someone else about what I was working on currently. And I told them, because it's stupid. It's about, I'm working on this cookbook and I keep adding recipes to it, but I keep forgetting to take photographs of the food. Because by the time I remember to take photographs of the food, I've already eaten the food, and so I have to wait until the next time I make said meal to take a photograph of the food. And the cookbook is getting fatter, and without photos, I'm not going to publish it. So it was a joke, and we laughed about it. That conversation got back to that. Well, Uncle Rumple. Let's be serious. Let's be honest here. It got back to Uncle Rumple that I was planning a sequel to my controversial autobiography, and that I was taking photos of it. Which, if we're honest, I was talking about another book I'm writing. Yeah, sure. I guess sequel, if a cookbook can be a sequel to anything. But taking photographs, the joke was that I wasn't taking photographs because I'm not taking photographs, that I am too lazy to take the photographs of said book, whatever. It's just hilarious. And then that's when I got pulled into the conversation with Uncle Rumple, and shit went sideways for the day. Now, I pulled a couple of stupids. I did. I was stupid. It shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have allowed people to ruffle my feathers. I should have been more on point. I shouldn't have allowed myself to get drunk. I shouldn't have allowed myself to take the Xanax. I should have known better. I should have been more in control of myself and my actions. There is no excuse for my behavior other than I was an emotional wreck and I allowed myself to be stupid. It was stupid. It was stupid. And it was a stupid response to stupid stimuli, and I apologize for my actions in this.